My Adventures with Superman is a breath of fresh air in a dark world of DC Comics. We finally get a version of Clark Kent that isn't brooding all the time. Instead, we're introduced to a Superman who's witty and funny. But what about the iconic Superman villains? Well, we're introduced to some of them, and they completely represent their comic counterparts, while adding a unique twist. This lighthearted series is a fun way to explore the story of Clark Kent, and how he navigates the troubles of being Superman. While battling investigation journalism, Superman will also defeat iconic foes and enemies. So in today's video, we'll take a look at the 12 villains from the series that have engaged the audience with their unique persona and style. So without further ado, sit tight and enjoy this adventure with Marvelous Videos. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Mr. Mixits Pik. A tough name to pronounce, but an even tougher opponent to defeat. Mr. Mixits Pik is an intellectual genius who can't be defeated with brute strength. To defeat him, Superman must outwit him and think like this self-proclaimed interdimensional peacekeeper. Coming from the 5th dimension, this interesting character makes his debut in the 7th episode of the first season, and has played a minor role since then. He's introduced as an ally to Superman as they go out on a mission to save Lois Lane, but soon we see the true colors of Mr. Mixits Pik as he manipulates Superman into doing his bidding. This blue-skinned imp loves creating chaos and puts Superman in difficult conditions. Although it's a serious situation, the slight humorous undertones make the episode even better. This interdimensional creature often calls himself the God of Chaos, and he has the abilities and powers to be a decent contender. Superman had a tough time defeating Mr. Mixits Pik due to his reality warping abilities. Basically, the self-proclaimed God of Chaos can alter reality with a bowler hat. However, without it, he's very weak, and can be defeated pretty easily by Superman. Mr. Mixits Pik is also a levitation expert, and can technically float mid-air. He can also read your mind with telekinesis, and will teleport to different places if you get too close. What Mr. Mixits Pik lacks in physical strength, he gladly makes up for with his intellectual prowess and a long list of abilities. Superman used both his brains and brawn to send Mr. Mixits Pik back to his own dimension, because you can't imprison the God of Chaos. Heatwave. Wherever Heatwave goes, chaos follows. This walking, breathing flame of fire is a fierce adversary in the series. She first makes her appearance in the episode You Will Believe a Man Can Lie, and since then has made multiple appearances. She's a tough woman who's completely obsessed with fire. You can say that fire has been her true friend, and she uses it to destroy everything in her path. Sadly, her journey was short-lived as she met with the iconic Man of Steel. Superman took notice of the increasing arson activities and decided to take down Heatwave. But it wasn't easy to take down fire itself, as it burns everything in its path. Clark Kent also had to deal with collateral damage, because the last time he destroyed the city, the Dark Knight got furious. Coming back to Heatwave, Superman used his strategic thinking and resilience to take down the enemy and subdue her fire suit, which had a massive flamethrower. But he wasn't alone in this fight, as he had the complete assistance of Lois Lane and best friend Jimmy Olsen. Together, Superman and his crew saved the day yet again, and added another enemy to their list.
Suit is operating at optimal efficiency. Integrating the reclaimed tech has made it stronger.
Amanda Waller. Once a loyal companion of Sam Lane, another antagonist, Amanda Waller soon became the main antagonist of Season 1. But how did that happen? Well, her ambition knew no limits, and soon it enabled her to do destructive things that made her a terrifying villain. Although My Adventures with Superman is a lighthearted series, Amanda Waller isn't. She created Task Force X along with Sam Lane to take down alien threats, but soon her actions started to become unethical, as she vowed for the greater good and tried to save her country. Waller tries to get things done by any means necessary, even if it means killing Superman. She's also killed many innocents while experimenting with Kryptonian technology just to defeat Superman or keep him at bay. She believes the Man of Steel is too strong and can be a threat to the country. She also equips Sam Lane with the Omega Cannon just to defeat Superman. So how did Superman defeat her? Firstly, their battle didn't include exhilarating action, but had a lot of psychological nuances. Clark Kent knew that the only way to defeat Amanda Waller was to expose her secrets in front of the entire country and the people she's committing these horrible deeds for. He gathered evidence of all the unauthorized experiments and metahumans by infiltrating the Task Force X facilities. Superman then rallied the support of all his allies by showing Amanda Waller's ugly truth to the world. This is where Superman really shines. He can beat Amanda Waller in an instant, but instead, he takes the moral high ground and lets the people decide for her wrongdoings.
Superman! Come out wherever you are.
Parasite. After Amanda Waller, Parasite, aka Dr. Ivo, was the biggest antagonist of Season 1, and also the strongest. This narcissistic individual wants nothing but glory and will do anything to achieve it. He's a corrupt scientist who founded the company Amazotech. To increase the company's value and earn more money, Dr. Ivo came up with a brilliant idea to build Parasite armor. Now, this armor was sold on just one idea: it can kill Superman. Also, it had one interesting quirk. The armor was able to absorb all the energy it needed, making it extremely difficult for Superman to beat him as all his punches were getting absorbed. To demonstrate the same, Dr. Ivo uses the Parasite armor, but gets defeated miserably. However, the story doesn't end there, as he gets hired by none other than Amanda Waller and Task Force X to defeat Superman. Parasite gets his hands on the latest technology and resources, and tries to beat Superman for a second time, but the result is the same. He then attacks him for a third time, but this time, Parasite is even bigger, and is causing chaos all throughout Metropolis. However, the result is the same, and he gets defeated yet again. But why does Dr. Ivo have a deep hatred for Superman? It's because the Man of Steel has exposed his secrets various times, leading to the downfall of his company Amazotech. He also hates Superman for his sense of justice and righteousness. So much for being good in this world. Ruff House. Ruff House is everything you want from a typical villain. He likes stealing things and hurts people for fun. He's escaped prison several times and is still going strong. Although a villain like Ruff House is very easy to defeat, things get different when this strong individual gets access to a freezing cannon. Now, traditionally, Albert, also known as Ruff House, has no real superpowers. He's just incredibly strong for a human being and has committed petty crimes with a gang called the Intergang. It seems a lot of thinking went into the name. Anyways, after getting the freezing cannon, Ruff House immediately attacks the Bank of Metropolis. Clark Kent was already in the bank and changed into his superhuman costume to execute some good old justice. Now, you may think it was pretty easy for Superman to stop a part-time bank robber and full-time dimwit, but no, this Superman in the early stages of his life has not developed all his skills yet. After struggling a lot, Superman miraculously learns heat vision ability after that. And after that, it becomes pretty easy. Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke, captures the Intergang and puts an end to the antics of Ruff House temporarily. Ruff House often acts without thinking, and Superman took great advantage of that. He manipulated the tall and strong villain and enraged him to commit foolish mistakes. This is the first time we see Superman use psychological games to defeat his enemies. He also stops by and repairs the entire bank for all the damage is done. Maybe he's learned from all his mistakes in the past. Mist. We have yet another member of the Intergang on our list. Mist, or Kyle Nimbus, is the intelligent member of the gang, and has affiliation with Task Force X as well. Mist and his gang committed petty crimes that got them on the wrong side of justice, and eventually found themselves in prison. But their sentence was short-lived, as they got access to a special weapon by another villain named Livewire. So Mist and Ruff House, along with the special weapon, plan a prison break for another member of the gang named Siohan. They break into the Strikers Island Penitentiary and rescue their gang member and friend. Now, Mist is completely different from Ruff House. He often maintains a stealthy personality and is seen wearing a hood and a black mask at all times. He also has an interesting vest, which grants him the power of invisibility, where he can just turn into vapor or mist. Kyle Nimbus plays a critical role in the episode 0 Day Part 1, where he leads Superman into Task Force X's hidden facility. It's often said you should never trust your enemies, and Superman makes a massive blunder as he finds himself in a trap. Mist eventually leads him to the entire Task Force X army, and now the Man of Steel will have to fight alone. He soon gets overwhelmed and is nearly killed by the Parasite, until the General gets involved and saves the entire hope of the universe. Mist, or Kyle Nimbus, didn't have any significant powers or strength. However, he was able to get Superman almost killed just with his tactics and manipulation. Maybe Ruff House should take some notes.
Can you guess what the job is? It's getting back at...
Silver Banshee. Siohan McDougal, or Silver Banshee, is the head of the gang named Intergang. This gang comprises just 3 people, 2 of which have already been covered. They start out as petty thieves, but Siohan's ambition becomes bigger and greater. They steal some high-tech equipment and try to take down a bank, but we all know how that turned out. Silver Banshee wears an interesting mask that grants her the ability to produce sonic waves. These are lethal sound waves that can easily damage eardrums and can cause permanent loss of hearing, but they were ineffective against Superman. But props for at least trying. However, her suit with the Task Force X was much improved and more lethal. She got the skull-looking mask and an upgraded armor to fight Superman along with her gang. But sadly, her enhanced durability and fighting abilities didn't work when taking down Superman. Silver Banshee is an unpredictable foe and learns from every defeat she faces. This is how she incorporated much improved armor after fighting Superman for the first time. However, her ambition and desire to rule Metropolis became her downfall, as she later became a pawn to much fiercer enemies like Amanda Waller and Dr. Ivo. The leader of the Intergang, who just wanted the best for her team, later fought a battle she had almost nothing to do with. All 3, Mist, Ruff House, and Silver Banshee, quit Task Force X following the events of Season 1 of My Adventures with Superman. Slade Wilson. We're all aware that Amanda Waller was the biggest antagonist of Season 1, but she has no superpowers or special suit giving her abilities. So how did she become so feared that people trembled after hearing her name? Well, Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke, was her right-hand man. If you've been around the block, then you must be familiar with the exploits of Deathstroke, the assassin who never misses his mark. In My Adventures with Superman, he plays a similar role and works as an enforcer with Task Force X and Amanda Waller. It was Deathstroke who got the inner gang to work with Task Force X. Slade is indeed a ruthless mercenary and has done several things in the series to keep up his reputation. He brutally tortured Livewire for information and even tried to kill Superman while he was busy saving a bridge full of people. Deathstroke is an experienced mercenary who will resort to manipulation and other dark tactics to get the better of his enemies. The series version of Slade Wilson is a bit different from the comic one. Here, Deathstroke wears an eye patch on his right eye because it was destroyed by Livewire. However, his armor maintains the traditional black and gold color. He's one of the primary villains of Season 1 and has the abilities and powers to go along with it. Apart from being a ruthless mercenary, Deathstroke also gains the ability to fly and has superhuman strength and speed to counter that of Superman. His tactical analysis was very useful when Task Force X was trying to trap Superman and eventually defeat him. My Adventures with Superman gave homage to an iconic comic book villain with their own unique twist, and it was quite refreshing.
I'm not here to hurt you.
Livewire. Livewire has been mentioned several times in this video. It's about time we actually find out who she is and how she's involved in every major incident in Season 1. Livewire is the only villain from the series who required both Superman and Slade Wilson to team up just to defeat her. She's ruthless and intelligent, and has deadly abilities that can even hurt Superman himself. Leslie Willis has electrokinetic powers and can charge anything and everything with electricity. Her special suit is also powered with Kryptonian technology, making it difficult for Superman to defeat her. Her first appearance in the series comes when she steals high-tech equipment from a secret facility. Slade Wilson is tracking her throughout the episode, and an exhilarating battle soon follows. Superman also gets involved in the same battle and depowers her Kryptonian suit while saving her life. However, she returns in later episodes and unites the inner gang while mounting the final assault on Superman. Livewire even manages to capture Superman, but soon things get blown out of proportion, quite literally, and she makes a quick escape. If you thought that the lore of Livewire was done, then you're wrong, because she returns in Season 2 yet again. This time she's hired by Thomas Weston to kill John Irons, but Superman interjects yet again and stops the electric villain. Her list of abilities is long and devastating. Livewire is a sadistic person who hates talking to people. She also has metahuman physiology, which was acquired when Slade Wilson damaged her Kryptonian suit. Now she can harness her electrical powers without relying on technology, making her an even more ruthless enemy. She's a hardened criminal who will stop at nothing and always finds herself in the midst of chaos and battle. Kara Zor-El. Kara Zor-El, or Supergirl as she's famously known, plays an integral part in My Adventures with Superman. Although she makes a brief appearance in Season 1, Season 2 is a different story altogether. She's one of the major antagonists of the season, along with the iconic Brainiac. Supergirl also gives Superman a run for his money and is arguably the more ruthless of the two Kryptonians. But before we talk about her part in the series, a bit of background info on her. Kara Zor-El was born to Zor-El, the brother of Jor-El, who happens to be the father of Superman. Her father also used a pod for her escape while Krypton was burning. Sadly, Brainiac intercepted the pod, and suddenly her life took a drastic turn. She was raised by the ruthless supervillain and was completely brainwashed by him. She started to believe in violence and even committed several genocides for him. Similarly, she was tasked to visit Earth and make the planet kneel after Superman destroyed Brainiac's ship. After taking in all the scenery of Metropolis City, Superman and Supergirl engage in an intense fight. However, the fight soon came to an end as Kryptonians rarely kill their own kin. Later, both Supergirl and Superman reconcile and vow to save Metropolis together. This resolution shouldn't take away from the fact that Supergirl had a strong chance to defeat Superman. She had the same skills as he did, but she was way more polished. Additionally, she had the Kryptonian warrior suit and learned to be a master combatant under the leadership of Brainiac. Along with Kryptonite, brainwashing was her biggest weakness, and it eventually led to her downfall. Brainiac had a strong hold on her psyche and used her as a destructive weapon with no end in sight.
Superman, thank you. Without your people's...
Damage. The next villain on the list is an arrogant brute named Ethan Avery, also known as Damage for the damage he can do to his enemies, no pun intended. Damage first made an appearance in Season 2 of My Adventures with Superman. He was hired by Amanda Waller to save the world from the threat of Superman. As the trope goes, they believe that Superman is fatal to Earth and try to stop him by gathering all the Kryptonian resources and minerals. This is also where he faces Superman for the first time. While Damage and Slade Wilson are collecting Kryptonian technology, Superman makes an impromptu entry to spoil the party. Now this is where the episode gets interesting. Superman and Damage are almost equal in terms of physical strength, and the Man of Steel has to rely on his tactical brilliance to get the better of him. Damage is also tasked to kill Sam Lane in another episode, but Superman arrives in time to save the former leader of the Task Force X. Damage is one of the few villains in this video who can match Superman's incredible strength. This is because of his cybernetic metahuman physiology. Basically, Ethan Avery has superhuman strength, speed, durability, and is well built. He also has mastered various forms of hand-to-hand combat and is pretty agile for his size. However, he fails to make his own decisions and always needs someone to call the shots. This arrogant brute was loyal to the evil Amanda Waller, and that eventually became his downfall. Atomic Skull. What would happen if the Ghost Rider was infected with radioactive elements? We would get Atomic Skull. This intriguing villain possesses a skull that is ever burning with radioactive elements. Although he had a short part in Season 2, it was critical and the fans wanted more from this underrated villain. Similarly to Damage, Atomic Skull was hired by the Task Force X to destroy Superman, who was deemed as a threat to the planet. Joseph Martin was an agent before he was introduced to radioactive elements and turned into a weapon of mass destruction. He has a metahuman physiology that allows him to project radiation onto his enemies, and these radioactive blasts are extremely potent and prove deadly against Superman. Apart from radioactive abilities, Atomic Skull also managed to get insane strength and speed. He was introduced as a no-nonsense villain who gave Superman a run for his money. The Man of Steel was struggling massively while defeating him. Sadly, a deflection took him away in Season 2, as Atomic Skull met his untimely demise. Many fans are hoping for a revival of Atomic Skull in the next season, as they're eager to learn more about the character's backstory and subsequent battles with Superman. Conclusion. And there you have it. These were some of the most brutal and unforgiving villains from the series My Adventures with Superman. From strong foes like Damage to master assassins like Slade Wilson, Superman has fought everyone in these 2 seasons. However, the fun is just beginning, as it's expected that many iconic villains will feature in the subsequent seasons, and maybe we can also see the Dark Knight getting featured, as there's a lot of chatter about Gotham City. But for that, viewers will have to wait a long time. Until then, you can watch the insane library of content at Marvelous Videos. We have everything covered, from DC Comics to Marvel Universe, and we also explore movies and TV series. So if you're interested, then do subscribe, and stay marvelous!